Welcome to WebStylePress. Difference between var, let, and const is very important in JavaScript to understand. This is a very important and popular JavaScript interview question as well. As a JavaScript developer, you will have to answer this question in almost every JavaScript interview. To understand difference between var, let, and const, you will also have to understand attached concepts like variable declaring, assigning, scope, hoisting, shadowing, and such. A variable is used to store value in programming languages. It has to be declared with a unique name and then we assign it a value. Consider var channel name equals sign WSP. WSP is string. Here var is keyword. Channel name is the variable name or identifier and WSP is its value. Value data type is string. We declared a variable with name or identifier channel name using var keyword. Then we assigned it a value that is WSP. We can declare a variable in JavaScript by using one of three keywords. Those are var, let, and const. Let's compare these keywords and find out what happens when you choose to use each one of these. Var has been there since the beginning of JavaScript. Let and const were introduced in year 6 to overcome var limitations and to have more control over variables in JavaScript. So first one is global scope. A variable declared with var is stored in global scope. Let and const are not stored in global scope. They have local scope or block scope or function scope. Scope in JavaScript is a region where a variable can exist and be recognized by the JavaScript program. Three types of scopes are global scope, block scope, and function scope. Scope outside of block or function is global scope. This is global scope. This area or this area or this area. This is global scope and this is block scope here and this is function scope inside function. Scope outside of block or function is global scope. Anything declared outside block or function has global scope. With JavaScript, the global scope is the JavaScript environment. In HTML, the global scope is the window object. Web browser window, F12, DevTools, window object. This is the window object. Global variables defined with the var keyword belong to the window object. For example, let's define three variables. One declared with var, one with let, and one with const. WSP1, WSP2, and WSP3 with these values. We have declared three variables using var, let, and const in global scope. When we declare a variable using var in global scope, it attaches to window object. As we mentioned earlier, this is window object. It has got properties and methods attached to it. Now with these variables declared in global scope, we can do it like window dot WSP1 and it will give us value web style press, this value. We have attached WSP1 to window object. A function declared in global scope also attaches to window object. For example, function my channel enter, and now we can do it like window.myChannel and it will give us this function attached to window object. It is not a good practice to attach variables and functions to window object, but let and const do not attach themselves to window object. For example, window.WSP2, this one, is undefined. Similarly, window.WSP3, this one, is also undefined. But window.WSP1 gives us value web style press. That means let and const don't have global scope, but a variable declared using var in global scope is a global variable and will be available everywhere in JavaScript program. Similarly, if we see here, window.wsp1 gives us value, window.wsp2 is undefined, and it says property WSP2 does not exist on type window and type of global this. And then Windows P3 and then window.wsp3 is similar. It is also undefined. If you assign a value to a variable that has not been declared using var, let or const keyword, it will also automatically become a global variable. For another example, this is function 1, and here we declare a variable without keyword, channel name WSP. This will declare a global variable channel name even if the value is assigned inside a function. We can call this function here and then channel name this variable here, and as you can see, value for the channel name is available here. So code here can use channel name variable. We have a conclusion. var has global scope, but let and const don't have global scope. Let's move on to block scope. var don't have block scope. Let and const have block scope. Let and const respect block scope limits, but var don't. For example, inside this block scope, we declared a variable WSP with value containing value web style press. And here we can call it, and as you can see, this value, and here we can also call it again, and here is the value. And also outside of block scope, we can call it. And here it says WSP is not defined, or variable WSP is used before being assigned. And also here, if we comment this, it says variable WSP is used before being assigned. Variable WSP called before declaration. Inside block and above block scope says variable is used before assigned. See, WSP is available everywhere because it has been declared by using keyword var. var is not respecting boundaries of block. var is available outside block as well because it is hoisted to global scope. In case of let, we declare it by using keyword let WSP. And see, here it is not available. So here it is available, and this is the value, and here it is not available. WSP is not defined, can't find name WSP. And here outside block, WSP is not defined, can't find name WSP. Block scoped variable WSP used before its declaration cannot access WSP before initialization. It is also available but cannot be used or initialized. Error says cannot access variable before initialization, or block scoped variable used before it is declaration. Variable is used before it's assigned. So in case of let before declaration, it is there but cannot be used. Block scope identifies its presence at the top of block scope. Let is respecting block boundaries, so it has block scope. In case of const, block scope const has got exact behavior for block scope. It respects block boundaries. It is not available outside block. It says can't find name WSP, or reference error, WSP is not defined, or variable is not defined. It is not available outside block. Inside block before declaration, block recognizes const presence at the top, but that is not usable. It shows same error message like let. Error says cannot access variable before initialization. Block scoped variable used before its declaration. Variable is used before it's assigned. And after declaration, outside block, same behavior, cannot find name WSP. WSP is not defined or variable is not defined. So these examples clear that let and const have block scope, but var does not have block scope. Then we have got function scope. Var, let and const all have function scope. In case of var, consider this. Var identifier my name and this is the value. Var, let and const all have function scope. Outside function, they are not available. Inside function, at the top, they are recognized by function but cannot be used. Error message says variable is used before being assigned. After function and above function, variable will not be available, but function call will output value from variable. So here inside function, we will return this variable. If we use this variable here, it says my name is not defined. If we use it here, it will say cannot find name. If we use it before variable declaration, it will say variable my name is used before being assigned. But function call will output variable value here and here. But we cannot access this variable name directly outside function. So inside function at the top, variables are recognized by function but cannot be used. After function and above function, they are also not available, but function call will output variable value. Same is the case with let. If we change it to let, we can see that function call is returning value of variable here and here. But if we try to call variable outside function, it will say variable is not defined or cannot find variable. Here as well, cannot find variable. But if we try to call the variable inside function before declaration, it will say cannot access my name before initialization, or block scoped variable used before its declaration. Variable my name is used before being assigned. Exactly same case is for const. We change it to const, and now function call is returning value here and here. But if we call variable outside function, in case of const, it is not available here. Outside function, after declaration, it is not available. But inside function, before declaration, we cannot access variable before its initialization, but function can sense its presence. So conclusion is that var, let and const all have function scope. Outside function, var, let and const are not available. Next are redeclaring and reassigning. How do we declare a variable and assign values to that variable in JavaScript? This is declaring a variable by using keyword let and identifier a. And this is assigning that variable a value. We used identifier a and then equal sign, then we assigned it a value WSP. We can also declare variable and assign the value at the same time. We declared a variable by using let keyword, and this is the identifier and this is value. This is variable declaration, and assignment, but it is undefined at this time, and when we will call it, it will be available. It will give us output, this value. So how about redeclaring var, const, and let? Var can be redeclared, let and const cannot be redeclared. For example, in case of var, var x, and then var x again. Redeclaring a JavaScript variable with var is allowed anywhere in the program. In case of let, with let, redeclaring a variable in the same block or scope is not allowed. As you can see, syntax error, identifier y has already been declared. Cannot redeclare block scoped variable y because it has been declared by using let keyword. And in case of const, it is also not allowed. Syntax error, identifier z has already been declared. Cannot redeclare block scoped variable z. Const declarations must be initialized. Okay, so let's assign the value. Now, cannot redeclare block scoped variable z. JavaScript const variables must be assigned a value when they are declared. With const, redeclaring a variable in the same block or scope is not allowed as well. So that concludes var can be redeclared, but let and const cannot be redeclared. How about reassigning? Var and let can be reassigned, const cannot be reassigned. For example, var x equals sign 1 and then var x equals sign 2. X value here and x value here. Here x value is 1 and here x value is 2. This is how we will reassign it basically. So var can be reassigned. In case of let, let can be reassigned as well. Let was declared here and we assigned it to value 1. And here the value is 1. And here we reassigned value and changed it to 2. And here we have got the value 2. So var and let can be reassigned. But in case of const, const cannot be reassigned. It says cannot assign to z because it is a constant. Type error, assignment to constant variable. The keyword const does not define a constant value. It defines a constant reference to a value. Because of this, you cannot reassign a constant value. You cannot reassign a constant array. You cannot reassign a constant object. But you can change the element of constant array and change the properties of constant object. Like we can push properties in variable declared by using const. So we cannot reassign the const. But here is the example for you. Let's say we've got a const with the name or identifier items, and here is the array. We can push items in this array. Let's say here the items are like this. Item dot push 5. And then here items have been changed. 5 has been added here in the array, but it was const. So we can change the elements of constant array. We can change the properties of constant array. And we can push properties in variable declared by using const. Furthermore, have a look at this. Var n 1 and then here the value is 1. Then we have got the block, code block, and here var n2, and here the value is 2. And after the code block, if we print n, the value has changed, it is 2. Value from this statement has changed. In case of let, here we defined a variable by using let, and its value is 1. And here it outputs 1. Inside the block, value is 2, and here value is 2. But then when this code block ends, if we print n, value is 1, that is coming from here. And for the const, here const and value is 1. And inside block, we have got const n with the value 2. Here the value is 2. But as soon as block ends, we have got the value of n1 that is coming from here. This is also a clear example of how var can affect code inside and outside block. Let and const have block scope. So inside block or function, we can assign them different values and they will take it. Each function or block creates a new scope. So you see here, const respects block boundaries and let respects block boundaries. But var does not respect block boundaries and it changes value. Next, we've got hoisting. Hoisting is a JavaScript behavior of moving all declaration to the top of the current scope. Current scope means current script or the current function. Declarations, not assignments or initializations. JavaScript only hoists declarations, not initializations. For example, var y50. It is undefined. And now y is 50. When we declared it and assigned it a value, it was undefined. Why? Because only the declarations var y, not the initialization, equals 50 is hoisted to the top. When we declared the var and assigned it a value, it was undefined. This is because only the declaration var y, not the initialization, is hoisted to the top. Because of hoisting, var has been declared because it is used, but because initializations are not hoisted, the value of y is undefined. In JavaScript, a variable can be declared after it has been used. It can be used before it has been declared. For example, we assign 10 to j var j, and here we declared j. Similarly, var k, we declared k variable, and then k equals 25, and then k. These two methods yield same results or behavior. Variables defined with let and const are hoisted to the top of the block but not initialized. The block of code is aware of the variable, but it cannot be used until it has been declared. Using a let variable before it is declared will result in a reference error. In case of let and const, variable is in temporal dead zone from the start of the block until it is declared. var is hoisted to global scope. Let and const are not hoisted to global scope. As I showed earlier, if I declare three variables by using var, let, and const, I can access the var variable by doing like window.wsp1. That will give me the value. This WSP1 was declared by using var keyword. But if I try to access WSP2, that was declared by using let keyword. It is undefined. Similarly, WSP3, that was declared by using const, it is undefined. It is not available. but window.wsp1 that was declared by using var keyword, it is available because it was attached to window object. It was hoisted to global scope. So WSP1 attached to window object, but variables declared using let and const are not attached to window object. With learning var, let, and const difference, it is also important to know concepts of hoisting, scoping, shadowing in JavaScript. I will explain these individually in some other tutorials. For now, I hope I explained difference between var, let, and const. That being said, do not create global variables unless you intend to. Your global variables or functions can override window variables or functions. Any function, including the window object, can override your global variables and functions. So avoid var, use let and const. It is always a safe bet to use let in case like loops. If you are using arrays, declare variables using const in that case. Okay, I hope it helped. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.